Hello, everybody. How are you doing? As you know, I already introduced the talk that we're going to have today. We're still having, to wait a bit until our guests are here. But I would like to talk and invite already to the screen to the director of the Tamarind Institute that I described earlier before, Mrs. Diana Gaston. So, hello, Diana. Are you there?
Hello. Yes, great to see you.
Hi, Diana. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. As you know, we're also waiting for Stephen Maes from the Frans Masereel. Oh, hello, Stephen. Just right in time.
Yes, hello.
Hello. You should never make the ladies wait. You know that.
That's true. My apologies.
Not a problem.
Steve.
Let me tell you, I was speaking with Diana, and I didn't know that you guys didn't know each other. You both are directors of incredible centers, Tamarind Institute and Frans Masereel Centrum. So I think that this conversation is already finding its purpose, that is networking, connecting, and sharing. So say hello to each other.
Exactly.
Hello.
Hello, greetings. No, our students speak in glowing terms about your institution, and I've had the pleasure of working with Michael Krieger, who I think has brought students to the Centrum over the years. So
that's true. Well,
it's a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. The pleasure is all ours. And also from our side, it's Tamarind is really a reference for many people that visit us, or my former students. I guess one of them was at yours last year. So it's
Mike Fahan. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I'm very honored to be in together with you in this conversation.
Well, likewise, yes. It's great to connect these two centers that are so far apart, but probably very similarly aligned.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, guys, let me tell you the following. A bit to start talking, but also telling a story. There is something, we will get to the practicalities of it, but there's something that when I was investigating both centers really struck me. One of the things that strikes me is the places that you're situated in. In the case of Tamarind, through the project that you know I love, that I have it written here, that is 66 miles, or the one that we talked the other day.
Yes. Route 66.
The artists work outside, and they also talk about the light, and also the place where the Frans Masereel Centrum, it's like a very particular place. So I would like to situate people as if this was a story, starting to talk about the place. So what can you tell me about the place the Tamarind Institute is situated, Diana?
Well, Tamarind has its roots in Los Angeles, so that's where we started in 1960, and we've been located in Albuquerque, New Mexico since 1970, and we're part of the University of New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we've had, we are now in what I hope is our permanent home. We started in a much more humble building on campus in 1970. The workshop was set up very differently then as more of an insular space with I think a sign on the door that said open by appointment only. And we just really didn't have the facility to welcome the public. And with the new building that was built in 2010, it's a much more transparent building in many ways. We have more of a public program, and we designed it so that there are literally windows that line the street so that people can look in and see, what is going on in this building. So it's I think the program has come along with the building in a way. And it is a very focused program. We're centered around lithography and the training of lithographers, but we are really rooted in the concept of collaborative printmaking. And so everything that we do in terms of artists that we bring in, exercises that we set up for our students, and just the way we interact with the public is based on that kind of principle of collaborative printmaking, of people coming together with different expertise.
Okay, there's a project that I fell in love with. I was watching all the videos of Tamarind this weekend. I still have to say that I'm in love with the work of, I'm not going to pronounce all the names, but Nina Elder, Tom Miller, and Judy. Judy is difficult to well.
You are, yeah.
I just saw the whole video, and also, I wanted to start with the idea of place because they were really talking about, working outside, being completely inspired in this project. So we'll talk about that project later, if you don't mind. And now I'm going to ask you to, Stephen, what can you tell you about the place where the Frans Centrum is located? That it's also very peculiar.
Absolutely. We are not in a city. It's not so easy to reach us, meaning that you really have to commute or to go by public transport to get here. But it's also an advantage. Like we are kind of a little bit in the woods. So people are a bit isolated if they are here, if they stay here, and we think it's really quality that people are not confused or not distracted by many other things that are happening in the city or whatever. So that is very important for us and very particular to our how we work and what we do in our program. So we were initiated in 72 or even a bit earlier by a Belgian artist who was then able to convince the Belgian government, to step in and to acquire the whole facilities. And so in 1 or 2 years we have our jubilee, our 50-year anniversary, which is a good moment to reflect and to think about the future.
Very good, very good. You were telling me, well, speaking with both of you, I mean, and going back to the project that I love, Diana. I was trying to see the different ways, the similarities that maybe both spaces could have, and also the common language that you have, that you definitely both work from the graphic, you're doing collaborative printmaking, and the approach. But you're known for being like the place to go to become a master printmaker, while maybe in the Masereel, speaking with Stephen, he was telling me that they were much more interested about like using the techniques and also being interfere and destroy. But we talked with you as well, about that with you as well. But I want to see, a bit how you work differently, in that way. Shall we start maybe with Stephen a bit, and then we go back to Diana?
Okay. Well, it's true. We have a lot of facilities which are based in printmaking, and it's one of the things why people come from abroad to the Frans Masereel Centrum. But our intention and what is important for us, that we open up our scope, meaning that we place ourselves in the middle of contemporary visual art, and we really also invite and try to inspire or even to challenge contemporary artists that are not familiar to printmaking facilities or techniques, and bring them here and develop the things that they are not used to do, and in that way to see how printed matter at large can be part of their practice. So on the one hand, we are totally okay and very fond of artists that really want to do research and go deep in one of the techniques, but we're equally very happy to open up practices and see how printmaking can be part of a broader experience.
And Diana, well, you do that in your own way as well.
Yeah, I mean that is very sympathetic with our approach as well. And while we feel as though we're maybe sustaining lithography in a very traditional way, and it's important for the students and the printers to come up through our program to really understand the chemistry and the basics of the medium. We have always really delighted in bringing artists in who have no understanding of printmaking, just to see how they approach it, just to see what ideas they bring. And that is, I think, the way to move the medium forward, is to kind of upset that tradition. And what you were saying earlier about the location being kind of in the woods, maybe a little hard to find. Albuquerque in some ways is that way as well. Maybe not as beautifully located in the woods, but just getting to New Mexico is in many ways, the artist is kind of asked to unplug from their life and come to work with us for a couple of weeks during their residencies. And we do find that distance from a major city and all the distractions is really key, to just kind of immersing themselves in the process. When our residents come, we usually just have one artist at a time, and they stay on site. On the student side, we are also bringing professional artists in to work with our students and challenge them as well. And in that side of the shop, it can be a little bit more boisterous. There's maybe more than one thing going on at a time. But on what we call the professional side of the workshop, where we're working with artists that we're publishing, we try to create a very kind of focused and quiet place for them.
Nice.
Well, I know that there's some practical information that can clearly be found in the typical websites, but if you, Diana, would like to describe, because you have workshops, you have residencies, you also have like the university part. Would you like to describe, Diana, a bit all the programs that you have? And
Sure. Yeah, it really is kind of a 3-part program. We have a very public-facing program where we offer lots of free public programming, artist talks, and video projects. And of course, this year has been more and more video-based. And we also have a residency program for artists. We bring maybe in normal years, maybe 6 to 8 artists a year to work with us. It really just depends on the schedule, but we usually have them there for about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Some projects allow for them to come back repeatedly. And then we have the student workshop with the printer training program. And that's really at the heart of our program, the printer training. And it has been central to our mission since 1960. And we have a very formalized program now. It's a 1-year program. Applications are due in January. So if anyone
I saw that. I wanted to go.
Have a look. That program is run by our education director, Brandon Gunn. It's 1 semester is a very immersive in the technical aspect of lithography. Lots of exercises, lots of kind of building up technique. And then the second part of the program for the printer training is bringing in artists to work with them and create editions. And from that training program, from that 1-year training program, we invite one printer to stay on for the next year, sometimes 2, to work with us on the professional side. And at the end of that year, where they've worked very closely with our master printer, they receive their master printer certificate. So, yeah.
I told you that I had the gift of seeing 2 of your stands, one at the IFPDA in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one at Art and Paper this past February before we all got locked down.
Yeah, it was our last day.
Yeah, so I would like to speak with you, and then I will go to Stehen again. You're not forgotten. I would like to talk with you a bit also about the gallery, if it's okay with you.
Yes, of course. So our gallery program is part of our public program, and it's also free and open to the public. We don't have a traditional exhibition program as you would see in a museum, but it's really more centered around the residencies. So our the prints that we're featuring in the gallery will usually tie in with an artist who has just been there. Maybe it's new work, maybe it's related work. But the gallery program is just another way for us to interact with the public. And I'm so envious of the Centrum space that it seems like you've really figured out a way to engage people and looking, and we have a few ideas. That's the one advantage of this miserable year, is that we've rethought our program a little bit and how we might engage people who are new to printmaking and just kind of get them involved in the wonder of looking. So we're working towards some new ideas for the gallery space.
Okay. So Stephen, let's go a bit. I want to talk to you about two things. First, I want to ask you a bit about the practicalities of residencies, workshops that you can sort of explain to us. And then I also want to talk with you about community, and then go back to community with Diana, if that's okay. So tell us, Stephen, please.
Perfect. Well, as an art center, we also have two parts. On the one hand, we have our residency program, which is long-lasting, year-long residency program, which has one part which is from January until September, where we have around 50, 60 artists staying in our facilities and in our accommodation for about 6 weeks. So that's quite a short period, but it's quite intense. But it's a very fruitful and dedicated time they have. So that's like the biggest part of the year, and always in the fall of each year, we invite universities, academies, art schools to stay here with their students and the tutors, professors, for 1, maximum 2 weeks for smaller projects, which is quite dynamic, let's call it, because all of a sudden, normally we have about 8, 9 artists in our accommodation, but all of a sudden during these school residencies, we have about 20, 24 people walking around, which is very special, very completely different in another atmosphere, but it's very, very nice to see this and to have this balance and to have these two ways of working. And in fact, since a lot of years, but mainly thanks to our new pavilion, which opened early last year, we are able to expand our artistic program, our public program, meaning that we develop exhibitions. We do more performative projects, even presentations of book launches and other things. So that's also very important for us, that we are not only like a closed building with our own private residency program, but that we also go public, that we publish publications, we make projects with artists, invite them, do commissions, and in that way try to develop new paths.
Okay.
We're talking about community, or you have maybe another question still?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of information. I don't know how to, juggling here. So you have to forgive me. Yeah, well, the idea of community, because I wanted to start with the idea of space, and both places are situated landscape-wise in very particular places, different but very particular. And I wanted to know a bit how you guys interacted with the community around, and also while talking with Stephen at some point, he told me that they will try to accommodate even families, so maybe there would be like, let's say, the female artist and the husband was coming along with the kids. And that, of course, it was not a center for kids, or but that it brought in, because of the view of the younger people, of the children, a very different, also an interactive view on the work that was being done there. So
indeed, yeah, absolutely. Well, we are a little bit indeed out of the center, meaning that, but still. I guess if you compare it to America, it is nothing, but we are about 30 minutes drive, 40 minutes drive from Antwerp, which is a major city in Belgium, or even Brussels is about 1 hour, 10 minutes drive. So it's I guess in for Europe it's a huge distance, but I guess in America it's like nothing. So, but it's like we are a little bit out of the center. We are in a small town called Kasterlee, which is one of the most densely wooded areas in Belgium. Again, we are not so we don't have wilderness. Like it's if we say nature, it's a very European form of nature. And indeed, what is very special and which I really like is that we have, for each artist that is selected to have a residency here, each of them has a possibility to stay in one little house where they can cook, where they can do everything they want, and indeed even invite the family. So normally each cottage, each house can host, can accommodate about 4 persons, and it is quite often that people bring indeed their partner or their kids, and I think it's super important to allow this and to or to make it happen. Even it's not about allowing this; it's just making it happen, and which also gives the possibility that it's not only international, our program, our residency program, but also intergenerational. And that's something very beautiful that you have sometimes people that just graduated, like 20 something, until people in their 60s or even 70s, which still have an active artistic practice. And it's very beautiful to see like all these people, because we are on the same site, all the houses are near to each other, so they eat together, they cook together, we don't oblige it, so people can still have their own private intimacy and so on. But sometimes you get along with somebody, and then you do things together, or you even go by biking around. You go around a bit, and that's something very beautiful. That it's all possible here. That you meet people without any pressure. Voilà.
Diana, do you want to add something in your own style to this?
Well, just speaking of community, and I'm very envious of what you're describing. We don't even allow dogs, at the workshop. So it's just a very different program. I think part of the influence comes from being part of the university. That we're in this very structured program. We do have some privacy in kind of a little studio apartment for our artists, and we try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. Sometimes artists will come, especially if they're coming for a longer residency. They'll bring their family or their children, and they'll stay kind of off campus. This summer we had Ellen Lesperance in residence, and she was very brave to come during the pandemic, and we just created a very separate, very safe space for her to work. And she was quarantined for 2 weeks before we started working with her, all together. But she came with her family. But yeah, it's the intergenerational thing, I think, is very important. While we're part of a university and we have lots of young printers working, we do try to kind of balance that out with our public that we interact with and with the artists that we bring. And I think we've been very successful in bringing some very established, more mature artists. And for us, the printmaking community really extends into a virtual space as well. The printmaking community that starts with the Tamarind print, training program is really a very special community, and I think that the connections and the bonds that are made during that year of training just continue throughout the printer's career, and we actively encourage that kind of community, and of course our I would say that the IFPDA, the International Fine Print Dealers Association community is really important to us as well. I mean, Tamarind is part of part of that community playing a very critical role as a training ground for printers, and just the expertise of colleagues and the enthusiasm of print collectors really comes together with the IFPDA program. So that's another very important part of our community.
It is definitely.
Yeah.
And talking about community and how community gets created sometimes as a result of collaborative printing or, you know, exploring a project among different artists, you know that I'm going to have you talk as much as you can, Diana, of 66 miles radius, that I swear that it's a project that I loved, and I saw the video over and over, and everybody can see it. No, an email, and but if you wanted to tell me something about the three artists, because, you know, as Stephen said, different generations, male, woman, you know, and I feel that that is there as well. So if you don't mind describing a bit of that project.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just a little context. So Tamarind is very fortunate to have access to the film department at the University of New Mexico, and the film program has developed so much over the last few years, and so we've had a lot of really great young filmmakers and videographers who have been able to make short documentary films on Tamarind, and it's such a visual subject. I mean, it's such a beautiful subject of watching, you know, the printers. So it really lends itself to film. And we did a couple of documentary shorts. We did the one that you're referring to, 66 Mile Radius. It was an opportunity to invite 3 New Mexico artists, all within a 66 mile radius of Tamarind. And so it was, there's so much talent in New Mexico. It was wonderful to just be able to celebrate that. And we brought 3 artists, Nina Elder, Tom Miller, who's really more of a sculptor and was very new to printmaking, and Judy Tuwalet-Stiwa, who's primarily works with glass, but she works in sculpture, and she's a very interdisciplinary artist. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this was a chance for us to bring artists who were not printmakers, hadn't even really thought about a matrix, you know, so they were very new to the whole concept. And then the other video program I just want to mention is one that, for anyone who's really considering our program and trying to understand what the printer's life might look like, it's a project that the director emerita, Marjorie Devon, put together the year after she retired. It was a project she'd wanted to do her entire tenure, and then she finally got to it when she retired. But it looks at 4 workshops around the world that are run by Tamarind trained printers, one in Hong Kong, one in Berlin, one in South Africa, and one in Minneapolis. And so there are 4 very different models, 4 very different points of view about printmaking and you know, again, how the environment contributes to the character of the shop. And that's a short video series called Tamarind Printers Around the World, and all of these are available on our website.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, thank you. So let's talk, unless you want to add something, Stephen?
No, it's perfect.
We try to do this in an organized, sort of orthodox way. Yesterday I had one that it was too crazy. So I wanted to talk about, if you don't mind, maybe the library, the private collection of both places, books, publishing, and projects that come out from that. So, Mr. Stephen, shall we start with that?
Well, I will jump in. Well, something which was from the beginning one of the aspects of our residency program is that all artists that work in our workshop, they donate 1 to 3 prints to our collection, which involves that by now we have about 22,000 works in our collection. Very diverse and so on, but also very, very beautiful. And we're now about to invest and do research in our collection, because there are so many little hidden gems in there that what is something sometimes very beautiful is that because you have the distance, you can judge in another way, or you can evaluate the work in another way. A lot of artists are not known. This gives you some objectivity, and you can approach them in a very open way. So that's gives me a lot of energy going through our archive, through our collection. Talking about books, we do have indeed also some quite some experience with producing works together with artists. There is maybe one of the most famous things we have is a series of archive books by the late Jeff Gaze, which is one of the most known Belgian artists from the last decade, I guess. And he was quite close when the center was initiated. So he didn't live so far from here. He was at the time a very young person, so he was like he jumped in, and he brought some dynamics to the game. And there is this ongoing collaboration with him until he passed away 2 years ago. And in a way, that's also something I would like to develop, and which we're already developing, is this kind of ongoing collaboration, like not a one-time shot with somebody and then inviting tomorrow somebody else, but starting a conversation with maybe then even a smaller amount of artists, but then developing their practice more in depth. For example, this year we started a collaboration with a Belgian architect called Wim Kuivers, who is, he's not an architect anymore. He stopped being an architect some time ago, and he developed it in completely different or complementary practice. And what we are doing now with him is to publish every year one kind of a publication, focusing on the different other aspects of his practice. And I really like to do these kind of things because they are a little bit out of sight also. They are not so easy to do for a more public institute that needs to fulfill a certain goal of amount of people visiting the venue or the exhibition. So we can do these more fragile projects, which are, I think, super important even today more and more, to support artists with a less common practice.
Diana, what about books?
Yeah,
library, collection, publishing.
Yeah, no, I love that idea of having your collection reflect the artists who have come through the program, and I made a note of donating the 1 to 3 prints. That's amazing. We have also a very substantial archive that encourages research. Our formal archive is housed at the University Art Museum, just across the street, and it's a relief to know that our collection our archive, our complete history is being so well cared for and researched. From the very beginning, Tamarind put aside 2 impressions. We call them Tamarind impressions that go into the archive. So one is kept pristine and one is intended for exhibition. And then Tamarind proper, we also house our own somewhat informal archive. We've lent work all over the world, and we're sometimes lending to centers that don't have the strict museum museum standards
Mhm.
of environmental standards. So we're able to lend our impression to that. So we have a kind of an informal archive and a formal archive. And then the university also houses our pictorial collection and our ephemeral collection of letters and all kinds of material. It's so wide open, I think, for further art historical research, because there are all of these letters, decades of letters, as the organization was being founded and as they were trying to find ways to to supply the workshop and having to kind of reinvent materials and the work with Tackage Press that started in Albuquerque with Tamarind. There's so many starting places are all reflected in the archive. We've done a few exhibition catalogs and certainly historical catalogs. I feel as though part of our energy is shifting a little bit more towards more video-based projects and trying to engage not only the scholarly community that Tamarind has always attracted, but also the general public, and just kind of trying to introduce the medium of printmaking and the training program that we offer. So.
Mhm.
Well, guys, I have a little someone here telling me that we don't have much more time left. I just, first of all, wanted to thank you enormously for joining us. I'm super curious of going and visit both places. I'm somebody that usually jumps on a plane and runs and goes.
Well, you'll have to come.
And you are definitely invited to come next year. We will, keep on talking during the year. Is there anything that you would say, oh my God, I forgot about this. I would like to talk specially about this. Is there anything you guys would like to add or?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is just the kind of general mention that as part of our recruitment efforts for our training program and to make sure that it really stays an international program, once the world rights itself and we're able to travel again, we do have a kind of a history of sending our printers to other programs to either offer demonstrations or to just collaborate on a short project or a small project. So just to kind of keep that in mind for those workshops around the world that might want a Tamarind trained printer to come and work with them. We're very open to that kind of.
I don't know, Stephen, but I'm gonna call you in 2 weeks again, and you're not gonna want to answer the phone. It's like, oh, this crazy woman again. No, really, we want this to happen. We really want, collaborations to be established. That's why we have, in the fair also this art. We're doing it, through streaming this time. But yeah.
Beautiful. Well, maybe one last note from our side is that, of course, it's a super strange moment for today, this week, and also that we try to reflect this in our program. We normally we had one exhibition this moment about our history, about a very special moment that there was a collaboration between Jeff Gaze and Marcel Brontaars. We delayed the exhibition for 1 year, and we turned around our production facilities, and we are now focusing on producing 6 new commissions that people can acquire and activate at home, because we think everybody is so in need, is at home waiting for some inspiration and challenge. And that's why we started Solitude, and it's about to be launched this fall. So that's something we are looking forward to very much.
That's great.
Guys, buy prints. We need to buy prints.
Yes.
It's a magnificent body of work of an artist. Buy prints.
It's absolutely important.
Diana, Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really, and we'll definitely be in contact, and we hope to go to both places and to have you here for sure.
Great. We look forward to that day.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great
Nice
day.
talking with you
You
both.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.